Welcome to Voodoo Whiskey Gaming, and this is my late review of Saints Row, the original one. I played it on the Xbox One through backwards compatibility. It's available on the 360, the PC, I think the Nintendo Switch, and even PS3 and PS4 maybe? So let's start with the story. You are a male, you cannot play as a female, you don't have an actual name, everybody just refers to you as the player, and you are basically rescued by Julius, the head of the 3rd Street Saints. He offers to let you join. You have to get canonized, which is getting jumped in. After which, you partner up with the different lieutenants of the Saints to take over the city, basically. Now, there is a bit more to it. There are some twists and turns along the way. Obviously, I won't go into those because spoilers and whatnot. I will say your character is pretty much completely devoid of any and all personality. They have literally like 3 or 4 lines throughout the entire game. The story overall is, you know, it's fine, it's there, it keeps things kind of moving along, but it's nothing amazing. As for the audio, this Saints Row, quite frankly, has the best soundtrack. It has the most radio stations with I won't say the greatest variety of music, but it's got a lot of really good songs. And the voiceover talent in this game is actually really impressive. They got a lot of very famous people to step into this game, and it was pretty awesome to hear that. And they did a good job. As for the sound effects and whatnot, those are all fine. They are kind of limited. This is an older game, but they do well enough for what the game is. As for the gameplay mechanics, it's an open world action game with crime elements. I gotta say, the map is way smaller than I remember it being, but it's also been a very long time since I've played Saints Row. While Saints Row is often, and even by me, considered a GTA clone, it did do kind of its own things with you needing to do side missions first in order to build up a reputation so that you could then go on and do the core missions. And each of those core missions, although some of them not as impressive as others, would allow you to take over an area. That area would give you money, you'd be safer in that area, etc. And these are all ideas that they later brought into the other Saints Row games, and it really became a staple of the franchise. One thing I really enjoyed was the variety in the missions, both core and side missions, as well as the diversions. I feel like there might have been more in the original Saints Row than there were in the other Saints Row games, although they were far less wacky. This was definitely before Saints Row developed its really unique sense of humor. Unfortunately, I don't feel like all of the missions work well. There's a variety of problems that lead to them being frustrating, from there's no checkpoints, so if you die at any point in a mission, you literally have to play the entire thing over again, which is frustrating. But it goes beyond that. The way you heal, the scoring systems, just dealing with a variety of other small things that have been introduced throughout the franchise, going back and replaying this game, oh man, there's some painful moments, quite frankly. It makes a lot of the missions just unpleasant and incredibly frustrating and not really enjoyable. As for the controls, they're okay. I gotta say, the aiming is kinda shit in this game, and the game itself has a weird control scheme. Moving around was fine enough, but like I said, aiming was awful. There was a mission where I had to do sniping, and it just wasn't precise enough. It made sniping on that time limit much more difficult than it should have been. But it wasn't just there. Shooting in general was not a good thing in this game. It was pretty painful, and like I said, the control scheme is kind of weird. Mostly I had issues with the driving because you use A and X instead of the right trigger and the left trigger, which in some ways was kind of nice, but it didn't give you as much control over your steering and whatnot because you're just going balls to the wall at all times. And the steering isn't magnificent either. It's pretty bad. Lastly, the graphics. This was an early 360 PS3 game, and it's not pretty, and it has not aged well. I know I said in my Saints Row 2 review that game had not aged well visually either, but man, Saints Row 1 looks so much worse. I will say though that, not unlike a lot of the other Saints Row games, I really enjoy that it is a brighter, more colorful game because, you know, browns and grays were like the thing at the time. So to wrap this up, it's obviously a pretty short review, and I just gotta say, I am so sad that I replayed this game. I never should have touched those memories. As glad as I am that Saints Row did well enough to give us Saints Row 2, 3, 4, Get Out of Hell, all of that, I gotta say, going back and revisiting the original, not worth it. It's one of those games that just doesn't hold up well, and I remember it being pretty good, but man, going back to play it is Honestly, it's painful. I've heard rumors that they're rebooting Saints Row or something, and if they start here and do a game similar to the original Saints Row, just with better mechanics and controls, I'm totally in. I enjoy the Saints Row franchise. I don't just enjoy the wackiest of them. I did once upon a time enjoy this, and I could see this being a fun game again, but man, the mechanics and controls would need a massive overhaul. That being said, I don't recommend playing Saints Row, the original. It was just bad. Bad by modern standards, I should say. Okay, so in the comments below, why don't you tell me if there's a video game that you remember much more fondly and have gone back and played and it sucked. And as always, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please hit that like button. And if you like what I'm doing in general, share, subscribe. Have a good one.